You're listening to Dakota Spotlight. My name is James Wallner. This is episode 6 and the final scheduled episode of Homicide at House of Bottles. Stay tuned, though, as bonus episodes will be dropping in the coming weeks, featuring behind-the-scenes interviews, extensive unfiltered recordings, and original content you won't want to miss. In this episode, we will delve into the subjects of justice and rehabilitation. And most importantly, we will explore the profound impact Robbie Rahrich had on his friends and loved ones during his tragically short life. We will also hear from Shawn Helmenstein as he reflects on his crime, his life behind bars, and his hopes for a parole hearing. Robbie's family share their thoughts on Shawn's efforts to secure an early release, and we revisit the mystery of that elusive missing shell casing. Welcome back to Homicide at House of Bottles. Previously on Homicide at House of Bottles.
911, what is your emergency?
We need somebody up here at House of Bottles North now.
We could see that there was indeed a deceased male sitting in a chair in front of a desk, and it was obvious that he was deceased.
You know, we didn't know where this case was going to go. We were fearful that it was a random act where somebody pulled off the interstate, did the robbery murder, got back on the interstate, never to be seen again.
Is this a robbery where he was surprised by somebody that maybe had stayed within the confines of the building?
Perhaps a domestic dispute, a drug deal gone bad, a money dispute.
Or is this somebody that he knew and felt comfortable with?
Got ready for bed, and all of a sudden there was a knock on the door, and it was the cops and a chaplain.
And I prayed all of the time that they would find his killer and that he would serve justice.
Incident happened at the bottle shop up in House of Bottles up in North Bismarck.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay. Were you in town over the weekend or?
Yeah, I didn't leave till Monday morning.
This is the person that killed Robbie Rahrich. He flat out lied to us about the gun.
I guess I'm having a hard time comprehending why you would bring a gun back here.
What about my CDs?
They didn't give me them.
CDs and my cowboy hat. Yeah, I just want to get my CDs and my cowboy hat. Hopefully they'll go with my plea bargain, and hopefully if they go for it, and if everything goes out, maybe I'll be out in 10, 12 years.
He was trying to say that, he was under a lot of emotional stress because he didn't have a job. His mom was sick with terminal cancer. He needed money, he needed this, he needed that. This wasn't something that was cold and calculated.
Over the past few months, we've been communicating with Shawn Helmenstein, currently serving his life sentence at the North Dakota State Penitentiary. Mari Zorb Hansen, a researcher who joined Dakota Spotlight in Season 10, has spoken with him over the phone multiple times this year. Our intent with speaking with Helmenstein was not to give a killer a platform or spotlight. That would be a profound disservice to Robbie Rahrich's memory and an insult to his loved ones. Instead, our goal has been to hopefully better understand the complexities of this crime. We also wanted to find out if 25 years in prison has given Helmenstein the time and perspective to understand his own actions. Shawn has always maintained that he doesn't remember the gun going off. One minute he was pointing it, and the next, Robbie was dead. We wondered, has that memory come back to him after all these years? Does he understand why he did it? What has he learned, and what insight can he provide now? Through our conversations with both Shawn and Robbie's friends and family, we've concluded that the question of justice for Robbie Rahrich still remains very much alive. Shawn has been actively seeking to reduce his sentence, or at least secure parole earlier than many expected. In fact, during the production of this season, Shawn has been waiting a decision from the Pardon Board regarding his most recent efforts. When Mari and I first discussed reaching out to Shawn Helmenstein, we were far from confident that we would get a response at all. Why would he want to talk to us, or anyone? What would he stand to gain? To our surprise, Helmenstein was more than willing to speak with us.
When you say player, what do you mean by that? Is that like a tablet?
Oh, yeah, we have a little tablet that we get our emails and do our commissary and make our phone calls on. Yeah, so when I call you, I'm sitting in my cell instead of sitting out in the day room.
We soon discovered that Shawn is like an open book, never shying away from answering any of our questions, no matter how direct or difficult. He doesn't put on airs or hide behind false pretenses. He's been remarkably earnest and genuine. Still, as earnest and genuine as he's been, we have no way of knowing with certainty how accurate his memory is or whether he's been fully truthful on every point. After all, we are not human lie detectors. On one or two occasions, while listening to Mari's recordings with Shawn Helmenstein, I found myself questioning if he was being fully truthful with us, or at the very least, I had to consider the obvious. He was either lying to us now, or he lied back then. That is, again, unless after 25 years, his memory has simply failed him. We could be wrong, but our gut tells us that Shawn has been more honest, open, and accurate today than he was back then when he was being investigated and put on trial. Perhaps the subject of the missing shell casing can assist in shedding light on who Shawn is or was back then. We asked Shawn about the shell casing. The cops had looked high and low for it, hoping to find a fingerprint or ejection mark so that they might someday match it to a gun. Former Bismarck PD detective Lieutenant Bob Haas recalls the search for it vividly.
We moved the spy cases around and tried to find out where that thing went, and never did find it.
At the time, Bob Haas and his colleagues had to consider if perhaps the killer had been so cold and calculating that he had taken the time to find that shell casing and take it with him.
That would indicate to us, too, on what type of person we're dealing with. If you've got the forethought to think about you need to pick up that shell casing, maybe this isn't the first time that you've done something like this.
And Bismarck PD wasn't the only agency wondering if Shawn Helmenstein had killed before. After his arrest in Montana, he was briefly questioned about another similar murder near Billings, Montana. Although he was ultimately ruled out as a suspect, it raised a lingering question. What kind of offender was Shawn Helmenstein? Was he a cold and calculating murderer, or simply a reckless, desperate man who killed his friend in a sloppy, thoughtless act of violence? Back in 1999, Shawn denied knowing anything about the shell casing. Lieutenant Myron Heinley asked him outright during that videotaped walkthrough at House of Bottles.
We just want to try to get the truth here. Do you remember what happened to the casing?
No, I do not.
You didn't pick that up?
No.
Do you remember seeing it at all or hearing it?
No.
Okay.
To us in 2024, Shawn has revealed what he says actually happened to the casing. It seems the truth lies somewhere in between. He was honest with them when he said he didn't pick it up off of the floor, but he did know where it ended up, and it wasn't inside House of Bottles.
Do you have any idea where it went?
Yes. It got jammed in the gun, and I didn't realize it until the next day, so it never got totally ejected. So that's why they never found the casing.
It seemed like they looked for it for a while.
Yeah, they looked for it, and I honestly don't remember them if they ever asked me if I picked it up. If they did ask me if I picked it up, I might have said no, because technically I never did pick it up off the floor because it never hit the floor. So
Another thing we asked Shawn about revealed an unexpected dose of irony. Back in 1999, Shawn maintained that the first time he went to the House of Bottles, he didn't have his gun with him. He claimed that he only brought it with him on the second trip when Robbie was killed. On the surface, bringing the gun the second time seemed to make him more guilty. Why return with a gun unless you're thinking of using it? It implied purpose, even premeditation. But listen to what Shawn told us recently.
No, it was with me that whole day. I had it on me the whole day. It was with me in the first time I was there too.
If this is true, it raises an odd question. Why lie about that back in 1999? In fact, admitting that he had the gun with him all day would have made the second trip to House of Bottles seem less premeditated, not more. Naturally, we asked Shawn why he would make up a story that seemed to hurt his case. His answer was simple. In an email, he explained simply, "I don't know why I told them that. I think I thought it would be worse if I told him I had it on me the whole day." Knowing that Shawn was not completely truthful about the shell casing or having the gun on him all day raises another question. Was he being honest when he claimed to have experienced a type of blackout moment during the killing? He said he remembered pointing the gun, taking the money, but insisted he had no recollection of pulling the trigger or hearing the gunfire. We decided to ask him.
You also said at the time that you didn't remember the moment when you shot the gun. Is that still true?
Yes, that is correct. I still do not remember pulling the pistol and pulling the trigger.
What is the last thing before you did that you do remember?
I remember I was standing in there and he was going through counting the money from the till, and I just kept seeing that money, and the recording kept going in my head. It's like, man, I need that money. I need a whole bunch of money to get my situation taken care of. And the next thing I remember is he's leaning in the chair, and the gun's in my hand, and I just panicked and put the pistol in my holster and grabbed the money and took off.
Through our conversations with Shawn Helmenstein, we've learned a bit about his life in prison. For a time, he worked making license plates. He also found a creative outlet in leatherwork and horsehair art, a craft he learned years ago. Shawn makes intricate items like horse bridles, which he sells for hundreds of dollars.
I'll probably start prepping some hair, and probably in end of July or August, I'm going to start on a bridle and making it for Micah for Christmas.
Shawn also works in a garden at the penitentiary.
The bad thing is my eggplant, the plant came up, but I never got no eggplant off of my eggplant.
He's shared a few personal, lighter details about his prison life. For instance, Shawn loves Coca-Cola, but since the prison serves only Pepsi products, he makes do with Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper. On rare occasions, when inmates can order meals from fast food restaurants, he savors every sip of Coca-Cola he gets with his order. He has also shared that he avoids controversial topics like politics and religion in prison, believing such discussions lead only to trouble. He's also observed how some prisoners behave disrespectfully towards women, something he says he doesn't tolerate. With multiple sisters, Shawn claims to treat women with respect, and he takes pride in his conduct. Since being incarcerated, Shawn's mother passed away from cancer, his father died by suicide, and his brother was murdered. These days, Shawn clings to a few sentimental reminders of his previous life as a free man. One dear item to him he told Mari about is a stuffed animal cow named Sugar from his childhood in Montana, now safely kept by a friend in a gun safe in South Dakota. Back in 1999, even before his trial, Shawn expressed a determination to make the most of his time behind bars. In a recorded conversation from the county jail that year, he told a friend this.
And if I get out in 10 years, I'll be 32 years old. I can still make a life out of myself. I'm going to take college classes and stuff while I'm in there, too. Yeah, might as well make something out of it, huh? I'm going to do my everything damnedest if I can get out of there as soon as possible. Because if you just sit in there and do nothing, you don't get shit. But if you show them that you're trying to get an education and trying your best to civilize yourself, they'll really parole you sooner.
And it seems that he's followed through on that pledge. Today, Shawn works as a teacher, helping other inmates earn their GEDs. It's a role he takes great pride in. He even keeps photos of his graduates as a reminder of their accomplishments. For this work, he earns $7.22 a day. He uses that money for phone privileges, cable TV, or occasional treats. While life in prison may seem monotonous, Shawn has managed to turn it into something meaningful, fulfilling at least a part of the promise he made to himself more than 2 decades ago. But like any other inmate, Shawn Helmenstein wants to be a free man. He's been pursuing this for some time, and he offers a range of reasons why he believes he should be released. Or at the very least, he wants clarity on when that might be possible.
I've done 25 years, and I honestly believe I've changed my way of thinking, my way of looking at things. I've always been productive in here. I don't cause no trouble. I'm always working, and I'm always trying to do better and help people. So I think I should at least get a chance to be able to come out at a reasonable age and be able to be a productive member of society instead of getting out when I'm 70, 80, or 90 years old and have to rely on the state to support me, because if I get out when I'm late 70s, 80s, or 90s, what kind of job am I going to be able to get? With me being in here, I think it costs the state $80,000 a year to house an inmate.
While it's true that Shawn has served 25 years in prison, his sentence was not for a specific term of years. He was sentenced to serve 85% of his life expectancy, a calculation he argues is unfair and overly fluid, especially for younger offenders. In 2019, Shawn argued before a judge to reconsider this method of sentencing, claiming it discriminates against younger people. He presented an example. A 22-year-old sentenced to 85% of his life expectancy would have to serve more than 46 years before becoming eligible for release, while a 42-year-old convicted of the same crime would be eligible for parole after less than 31 years. The judge was skeptical of Shawn's argument, as are Robbie Rahrich's family and friends. Here is Robbie's friend Mike Kapla again.
I understand where he's coming from, and it's like this might be his only chance to have freedom again, but I mean, he took that away from somebody who really on the other end of the spectrum didn't deserve it. I don't know. I think a life sentence should be a life sentence no matter how old. That's the definition of it, of how old you are when the act's committed. If you're an adult and that happens, I'm sorry, but that's the way it should be, whether you're 20 or 80. Like, it's still a life sentence. Maybe you lived 60 years of your life where you didn't commit that crime, and good for you, and you did it when you're 80. Okay, well, so you have 5 years left of your life sentence that you did it. You didn't commit that crime until you were actually 80 years old. So for me, that's kind of where I would like that to stand. To wish him dead or to wish anything like that, no, I don't. I think at a time I did, after I found out that happened, you go through the anger, you go through all these really very sharp emotions. I had this grandfather ruling he's served a long enough term, he should be let go. Well, that's not exactly what was served to him, in prison. So that's kind of the hurtful thing for me, and I just hope it doesn't get to that point.
And Robbie's friend and high school sweetheart, Angie Parr.
That he's been petitioning, and that he has all these privileges in prison. And it just makes me sick. It literally makes me sick. He knew what he did. He took off. He was hiding out with friends for days after this. And he thinks that he deserves to be a free man.
And here is Robbie's sister, Casey.
Well, I feel no matter what age you are, if you decide to kill someone, then you should be in prison for the rest of your life. Because you have no right to kill someone. I'm glad that he's where he should be, but it doesn't change the fact that Robbie's gone forever, and it makes me angry that he doesn't think he should have to pay for it. And I'm surprised that he even got a possibility of parole with his sentence. Yeah, life's never been the same for me. Life's never been the same for me since his death. He's gone forever. And he didn't have a choice in the matter.
Shawn Helmenstein wanted to express to us that in his mind, he's not so much looking out to get early, but mostly just looking to understand when he would be eligible for parole. But he says this number, 85% of his life expectancy, is constantly changing. Apologies for the background noise in some of these recordings. Prison phone systems are not the best sometimes.
Yeah, my parole date has been changed 4 times since I've been here. The first time they said it was 20, I had to do 40 years. Then the one time it said I had to do 47 years. Then another time it said I had to do 44 years. Right now I'm basically in the middle of a tunnel and I can't see light at either end. I never know when I'm getting out because they keep changing the way they do the calculations of a life sentence. Most other states, it just says you're sentenced to 25 to life, and after you do 25, you're eligible.
Of course, even if Shawn Helmenstein becomes eligible for parole, that parole still needs to be granted, and much of that would depend on the topic of his rehabilitation. Here is Robbie's friend Mike Kapla again.
I'm not sure exactly how rehabilitated you can be, but to have somebody like that, walking the streets to be able to do that again, that's probably more of a hurtful thing, I think, than anything. I'm not a capital punishment guy by any means. If if the death penalty is there, it's fine for whatever state you live in. But for me, if that was the law back then, and that was the sentence that was handed down to him, I think that's what should be in place.
And what does Shawn say about his own rehabilitation and walking the streets again someday? He says he's changed. He's grown up. He sees things differently. But he also said this.
What would you say to someone who would think that you shouldn't get out because you might be a danger in the outside world? Do you think there's any risk that you could hurt someone if you got out?
There's always going to be a risk. It doesn't matter. You can't say for sure 100%. There's always going to be the risk of something's going to happen. But what I can say to them is I've learned to how to control my anger. I've learned to see things in a different light. I know how to handle things differently now than I did 25 years ago.
When Mari told Shawn that Robbie's friends have expressed that they don't believe he should be released, he had this to say. Again, apologies for the static.
They don't know what I've been doing in here. I mean, I don't understand if I've been in solitary confinement for being in trouble all the time, never working, never doing anything productive, but I've always been working. I've always had a job. I'm always doing stuff, trying to make the prison look better in light of things.
As commendable as Shawn's efforts in prison may seem, not everyone is impressed. Here is Mike Kapla again.
I wish that most of his efforts would go to maybe people that are in the same scenario, or maybe to prevent stuff like that, to tell that story. Hey, kids, don't drink or do whatever and then shoot somebody. I mean, maybe that's more of I think that'd be more of a testament to Shawn than anything, that he's using what happened to him and not playing a victim, but playing somebody who can teach people before they maybe do it. That would be a good use of the rehab system, but not to become an attorney for yourself is kind of silly. But
Shawn once admitted to us that until fairly recently, he actually held the opinion that Robbie's friends and family should, quote, just get over it. Somehow he just didn't fully grasp their animosity, or perhaps we should say their hatred. Here is Angie Parr again.
And I don't have hate in my heart as a general rule, but I absolutely hate his killer. I have wanted to write to him so many times and just tell him what he did, how many lives he destroyed with what he did, and senselessly and for no reason. And this is someone he knew, someone he had worked with. So knowing him and still being able to do that to him, the type of person he was, it will never make sense to me in any way. It'll never make sense. And I've just debated sending him a letter, and then for so many years, from the very beginning, I just don't think that I can. I don't think I'd ever stop writing. And it would just be hate-filled and all of that. And does he deserve that? Yes. Do I think that I could handle it? No.
We asked Shawn for his thoughts on this.
I do not blame them. I actually truly understand their hate towards me. Before, I never could possibly understand it, except for after when my brother was killed. Now I see their side of their situation 100%. I understand their anger. I understand their hate. I understand their animosity towards me, and I don't blame them.
Just a couple final notes on Shawn before we shift to our main character, the most important one, Robbie Rahrich. Remember those jailhouse phone calls Shawn made before his trial? The ones where he was so focused on getting back his cowboy hat, cowboy shirts, PlayStation, and other belongings. The same calls where he optimistically told friends he hoped to get out in just 10 years. We asked Shawn about those conversations. Regarding his seemingly unrealistic hopes about the length of his sentence, Shawn explained that he was simply following what his lawyer had told him at the time, and he didn't fully understand what was ahead. And as for his belongings, Shawn shared the following in a recent email. I knew I was going away for a long time, and just wanted to have my stuff given to my friend, unquote. We never asked Shawn outright if he wanted to apologize, whether to Robbie's family, his own family, his friends, or the community. And you've only heard a very small fraction of our conversations with him. After all, as I mentioned at the top of this episode, our intent was never to give Shawn the spotlight. The spotlight here belongs as much as possible to Robbie Rahrich. That said, through this podcast, Shawn was given an opportunity to share whatever he might want the world to know. He shared a lot, and he said a lot. At one point he said, quote, "What I did was a terrible thing," unquote. He also said that had he never been caught, he would have likely drank himself to death from all the guilt. One thing he never did say was, "I'm sorry." Just as we were finalizing this season, after weeks of waiting, Shawn received a response from the pardon board. He shared that response with Mari in an email. Their message to him was brief and to the point. Your application is denied upon the seriousness of your offense. You will serve the remaining balance of your sentence. Now let's move on and let Robbie's friends reflect on his life again.
It's the guy who's sitting there going, "Hey, you had too many beers tonight, you need to, here's the water, you can stay overnight, you can do this." That's kind of how he would operate. He was always kind of taking care of everybody. And
I just remember him always being very attentive to how I was feeling, what I was thinking, always asked me about my day.
He was full of a lot of life advice. He was actually like an older brother that I didn't have. I was the oldest of three boys, and never really had a really older brother to look up to.
He worked at the Wood House at the time, restaurant. He would take every single break that he got, and instead of, actually taking a break, he would get on the work phone and call me every chance he got.
When I was maybe having issues, or if I was, in a certain place, he was always there to kind of, grab me by the collar and pick me up. I might have been mad at my mom or dad, or arguing with my mom, It was just the grounding visits that he would have with me, like, hey, calm down, you have one set of parents, you're fortunate enough to be close to yours. And so you saw how fortunate you are to have your family here still and not to waste that time. So more for me, it wasn't so much the little quirky things he would say or do, but it was more the context of his discussions he'd have. He acted like a therapist sometimes with no training, with no background or education, but really he was very good at breaking a confrontation down. He was the guy to put out a fire.
And that's one thing I miss most about him, is the guidance and advice. And what would he be doing now? Well, I think he would have had few kids, because he was so good with kids and loved kids, and probably would have been successful, would have had a business, I think.
Not so much where Robbie would be right now if he was still here, but where would we be right now without him here? And if I would have never met him, I think that trajectory would have been different. I think my communication with my parents would probably be sour still. Who knows where I would be in trouble. Robbie was very instrumental in getting me to go to school in Wapton in the first place. And without that, I wouldn't have went to Moorhead. I wouldn't have moved back here with the background and the education I had. So I think it's safe to say I probably wouldn't be here right now in the same setting I am right now without him there. He had a lot to do with that, with what I was doing with the career. He had a lot to do with what I was doing with my family. So yeah, I think I'm in a better place because of him. And I think a lot of people you talk to are going to say the same thing.
I feel like he visited me once in my dreams. Shortly after I came back from UND, in the dream, he told me that he knew I was going to be okay and that he wanted me to be happy. And I woke up crying because it was so real. Like, I know he was there.
I feel like he watches over people still. I think he's still around. It's really weird because I'm not a really huge spiritual or religious person, but I have this every once in a while, and that's kind of the weird part. Like I said, I'm sad that it feels like he's going to be forgotten, and that's the tragedy. But I think the biggest thing is that when you do have a memory that surfaces of this guy, I think that's the feeling you get, is that, hey, he's still here somewhere.
I won't forget him. I know a lot of other people won't. Because he was just good. He was just good. I don't even know how else to say it, just so good.
I have a memory of, we had caught a bunny rabbit when we were young, and the only way my mom would let us keep it is if we had kept it in the garage. And I got really attached. Well, of course, fall and winter came, and it was still in the garage. Well, it froze, and I was just devastated. But I'll never forget when he said, "Oh, it's okay. Your bunny's up in heaven now."
Thank you so much for joining me on this journey to honor Robbie Rahrich's life and explore the tragic circumstances of his death. My heartfelt gratitude goes to his friends and family for sharing their memories and perspectives. Our thoughts and prayers remain with his loved ones, and we wish them continued strength and peace as they carry Robbie's legacy forward. Dakota Spotlight is written, recorded, and edited by me, James Wallner, and proudly produced by the Porchlight Podcast Network. I want to thank Mari Zorb Hansen of Madison, Wisconsin for her contributions on this season. Her dedication to research, interviews, and feedback has been a real asset, and her collaborative spirit has made her an integral part of the team. A sincere thank you also to Bob Haas, Lloyd Halverson, and the Bismarck Police Department for granting me access to review the files and materials from this case. And most importantly, a very special thank you to the friends and family of Robbie Rahrich for their support and cooperation in sharing this profoundly tragic story. Our deepest condolences go out once again to everyone impacted by this heartbreaking loss. If you'd like to stay up to date on the show, be sure to join the Dakota Spotlight Facebook group. For inquiries or feedback, feel free to reach out by emailing me at dakotaspotlight@gmail.com. That's all for now. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.